The Mac's awesome because it's downtown. It's got studios, so that's a huge thing. If you're interested in being a fine artist, you have a studio space, and we do museum quality exhibitions. And so the nuts and bolts side of running a gallery, so the preparatorial work, the curatorial work, learning how to cut and install vinyl, and also making the statements kind of meaningful and concise. It's a full gamut of an experience that can really enrich a young artist understanding of what it means to put work out in the world. So it's got that kind of learning component, but there's also the really pragmatic kind of value of just learning skills and leaving able to do a lot of stuff within the art world. And that's kind of a demystifying thing and also an empowering thing as people graduate. I think that this year is different and it presents its own obstacles. And so I think in a way that's a frustrating thing, but I think that it's also this kind of great opportunity to sort of exhibit the strengths of creativity and critical thinking and kind of really engaging with problems and overcoming obstacles. So I think if they make it through this and they're feeling okay about things, if they can continue to do that, I can't imagine that not working out. Translating the physical experience, I mean, that's my background is, I spent a long time being a very kind of sort of a perfectionist in the gallery environment. And so being forced to use a new tool took away a lot of those skills and learned behaviors and forced a lot of new ways of thinking, forced me to kind of reconsider a lot of things. And that's been incredibly useful. It's been really inspiring. And I hope to bring these tools forward into both coursework for our art majors in the future, and also just for exhibition planning for myself as well. I mean, it's been a cool experience. But this virtual experience is not what anyone was hoping for in January in the fall semester, really, when we started planning this. Regardless of the situation, that these students are incredibly deserving of recognition and our attention, our efforts and our encouragement. And so I hope that some of this experience, even though it's certainly not our first choice, is able that we're able to offer those experiences to them in a meaningful way, and that our encouragement is authentic and meaningful. This is a cheesy thing, but there's a way that you can leave comments after viewing the exhibition, and I would really encourage people to kind of sign this guest book and just say hey and let everybody know what a great job they've done. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the guided tour of the show, and then we'll experiment with clicking around. So our first destination is just a kind of a general statement about the show that I will not bore everybody with, but it's mostly just a congratulation to our graduating seniors in the art department, and a little bit of information about how the gallery works. And then we click this next guide point button, which is just like the forward button on any other media player. And that takes us to Chandler's work, which is a series of paintings in acrylic using food as a kind of visual record of memory and place. And so she's taking these snapshots as she travels, and she goes to kind of iconic restaurants as she travels around the Southeast, takes a photo of the food, recreates that really carefully in this kind of photorealistic format. Oops, that's glitchy. And then and then she also makes these really kind of more delicate watercolors of the actual buildings and establishments. So there's a correlation between the work of the food inside and the place that she's been, and that kind of becomes the subject kind of becomes about memory and experience and travel. That's pretty thoughtful. And then going ahead to Madolyn's paintings, which are, you can kind of see. So there's a series of small, also sort of photo-based realist acrylic paintings over here on the right. And then what Madolyn's doing is looking at the texture and the kind of intricacy of the images from some of these smaller works, and then extracting that and making larger abstract compositions out of them. So these are kind of also paired together in a way, and they are about kind of very specific imagery, and then how sort of interesting the patterns and textures and colors are when you really become attentive to the specificity of those, and how abstract that is, and kind of about the blurry line between abstraction and representation in painting. And then it's a little different over here. So you continue to Emily's. Emily's a graphic design major, so these are different types of prints. It's kind of posters in various sizes. Everything in the show is kind of scaled roughly. I mean, there's a little bit of wiggle room. And then Emily was going to paint a mural for the senior show, which she's obviously not going to do. So what we were able to do is take that image and place it in the gallery in a way that would kind of at least indicate the scale that she was going to paint that work at. And then her work kind of uses music and sort of these kind of obscure subgenres. So she's into like kind of independent electronic music and stuff. And then kind of inhabits that aesthetic. So it's sort of translating the artistic experience of the music into a visual experience and making sure that there's a lot of sympathy between those two aesthetics and kind of embodying these subgenres. So the work here is really consistent in that it's speaking to a very specific kind of subgenre of music. And I like to think of that as kind of, like a translation activity. And then we'll just continue to our virtual small gallery in the back. And this one presented a little bit of a challenge in that Hannah created interactive kinetic sculptures, which are awesome and so hard to represent in a virtual format. So the compromise here is videos of visitors to the Plunkett Gallery, where her work is actually installed, interacting with them, with the sculptures, and then us filming those and uploading them here on these kind of screens that kind of roughly block out the space that they would have occupied in the exhibition. So you get a sense of these being sort of spatial. And I'll finish the tour and then just circle back and show you how the videos work. So that there's a component of interactivity, but also audio is a really important part of this work. They all kind of have this sort of instrument quality, and they all refer to the properties of wind and kind of how, if we're attentive to wind is sort of a metaphor for attentiveness, generally. There's more, as you see when you go through the tour, there are artist statements per artist that they've written, and you can also click through to their titles on the walls, which I'll show you, so you can get a second glance at those. So this is just another view of that mural. I'm going to run us back into Hannah's room. There's virtual refreshments as well. So I'm just gonna click on let me get a little closer to it. By clicking on the ground, and then I'm gonna click on this video, which will now kind of position us a little more clearly, and then it's up to us, the viewer, to turn the volume up. So. We're going to turn that back down, and we'll go to this next sculpture just to get a sense of what's going on here. And these are being interacted with as they were designed to be used. And you just have to remember to turn the volume back down when you leave, or it will continue making those noises kind of indefinitely. I'm kind of stuck here. And then the last thing I just wanted to show, so let's come back to Madeline. How about that? If I wanted to get a little more information about Madolyn's work and also her biography, I can click on her name here, and this includes her statement for the exhibition and a brief biography. And there are names on the walls above all of the artists with that same information available. And that's about it. That's what we got.